DigiPen and ETX. Thank you all for coming, and let's all give a round of applause to Candace and Margaret.
Hi, I'm Cassidy.
Nice try.
So close.
So hi, I'm Marguerite Cottrell. I am a hobby brand manager for PSI. We are a middleman in the game supply chain to get you stuff. I've also been a social media board game review-ish type person for a long while.
I'm Cassidy. I work for Calliope Games, Paizo, and Cheap-Ass Games. Currently, I'm a marketing director. And between us, we think we have done all the things. 'Cause you're also
Every last bit.
Yes. She was also a buyer for retailers, so she has invaluable insight on what she sees that actually makes her want to bring your game into the store.
That I do.
So how many people are planning on self-publishing through Kickstarter or some other venue? And is anybody pitching games to publishers? Okay. So our first bit will probably be more directed towards people who are pitching to publishers, but if you're going to self-publish, you can also do these things. It's just if you self-publish, you're going to have to pick and choose what works best for you because you will not have time to do all of these things. You need to sleep and take care of yourself. So choose carefully. Do you want to talk about community connection?
Sure. So one of the biggest things you can do to make yourself the most desirable you can to publishers is to build community. And there's lots of different ways you can do that, but the biggest one that we could probably speak to is building community through social media and online means, because gamers are very connected and very available there, and it's relatively cheap to do. So it's not a lot of capital investment, it's more of a time investment. So that's something I highly recommend, is not to overlook how powerful something as simple as Twitter can be. Developing a voice there, finding people, interacting, and getting them interested in what you have to say. A lot of the times if a publisher has heard of you before you even arrive, it's a good thing, hopefully. Could be bad.
Don't be that guy. So when you're on your own as a designer, you're going to put most of the burden of marketing on the publisher, so make them pay for ads and make them pay for your convention trips if you're going to be demoing for them. As much as you can, try to put that financial burden on them. But don't be afraid to go to local conventions on your own, meet people, demo. The warmer and fuzzier people feel about you, the more likely they are to give you their money. So do that.
That's a good point. You had a question?
Just a general question about this form. Are you wanting everybody to say questions till the end, or just ask when I heard you?
I feel pretty confident that we can break in with some questions. He's asking if when would be best for questions in this panel. I think it'd be best as an interactive thing anyway.
Yeah, we're a pretty small group despite how spread out you are, so we can make it more of a round table.
Is that something that needs to be specified in the agreement with the publisher? Assuming that you find somebody to sign, do we need to spell out, you're going to do this and this and this, I'm going to do this and this and this, as far as buying ads or, building a booth at this, attending this convention or whatever?
So you're asking if when signing with a publisher that should be explicitly spelled out whether or not you're paying for advertising or they're doing marketing or not?
Yes. What all is going to be done and who's going to pay for it?
It certainly should be mentioned in your contracts when you're signing with a publisher whether or not you are financially responsible for any part of that. Typically, I would say it follows the same line as a modeling scout. If you're paying for anything, it's a scam.
Right.
Yeah, many contracts have stipulations for sales, like if you don't sell any games within like a 6-month period, the rights to your game will revert back to you. Some publishers will extend that to if they don't make a marketing push for your games within a certain amount of months. I would actually encourage you to go more towards the sales route. That keeps them from making just a token gesture to show that they still sort of care about your game. So make sure that they're actually doing actionable marketing that gets results in sales. So,
I mean, in talking with that publisher, yes, you do want to get signed. It's really exciting and wonderful. But if they don't have a plan for how they're going to do your marketing, they probably won't do much. Like, you want to have that conversation before you sign on the dotted line.
Right.
yeah, ask what sort of marketing efforts they've made in the past, ask if they have a marketing human or a department for them, ask what sort of connections they have, what their social media following is like, whether or not they have marketing connections with distributors. There are lots of things you can ask them to give you a feel for how well they will be able to represent you.
Right.
So social media, how many people use Twitter? Yay! Those of you who don't have your hands up, you should probably start. Facebook? Yay! I think that was most people.
Instagram. Okay, interesting. All right, I will let you know, add dollar for dollar, Instagram is doing real well right now.
So those are the 3 platforms I've found I have the most success with. Mostly I've been focusing on Twitter and Facebook. Instagram, we have an account for people to tag us, but it's...
Which I would say as a bare minimum is amazing, because if I post you on Instagram and I tag you and you don't have it connected to your Twitter, it doesn't show up in the tweet. So like there's a lot of reasons just to even have those as once a week, throw something in there and just keep it at least maintained. But even if you're not going to cultivate a community on Instagram, having one is really, really helpful.
So those are the 3 social networks I would encourage you to start your marketing efforts with. There are a lot of tools that will allow you to connect all 3 of those, so you don't have to go to 3 separate places to post. On your marketing tools list, there's something called Buffer that you can start for free with. I think it lets you send up to 10 posts at a time for free.
Buffer is great as well because you may have a small amount of time in your week to do something for social media, so you can grab a bunch of relevant articles, a couple of posts, and put everything in there on your like Friday evening that you have, and it will deliver them out in like a nice spread out time frame. So you're not going to be spamming just like one timeline for one day and having nothing going out the rest of the week.
It'll allow you to reach more people and seem more engaged than you actually have time to be, which is great.
If you can fake it, that's fine.
Yes, fake those warm fuzzies.
Sorry, you had a question.
The buffer thing reminded me that I know that Facebook has certain algorithms that if you post a lot, then it actually removes your likelihood of being seen, just for whatever reason. Is there a way to find out how those algorithms are trending? Like, because Facebook changes that stuff all the time.
So he was asking if there's a way to know what Facebook algorithms are going to be affecting you the most, and the bad answer is no. Like, that's not a public thing. What I can tell you that will help you in general is to post a diverse different types of media. So if I upload a video, not just link to a YouTube, but if I upload a video and then I share a picture and then I share a post with a link in it and I tag 3 people and I get any sort of interactions on those, I'm going to do a lot better than if I only post links to my YouTube.
It favors native content, so.
That's why you see so many people uploading native video.
And why we're doing our live stream on the ETX Facebook. I have heard recently that they've been favoring things that they favor certain words, like if you say congratulations, like to the Lucy Award winners.
But then you get those cute little thingies.
Yeah, you get cute little
You
emojis
can just say rad, and you can say it in any language, and they do it in lots of cool ways.
And that's nice. Comments more than likes will get you more views. I try not to post to Facebook more than once or twice a day. I like to spread out my content because I do find if I put like 5 things up in a day, I will see my reach throttled appropriately unless I throw money at them.
And I mean, if you do have something coming up, I would never put money into a Facebook ad, sorry Facebook, unless I have something literally to sell. I have a link to something that is going to be an action I need. So even if it's just a newsletter or something, a sign up, you never want to pay into Facebook ads until you have something to that you can quantify afterward, whether you sold it or you got signups or whatever.
Yeah, like a Kickstarter link or
Yes.
tickets to ETX. So. And Facebook, if you do throw money at it, will show you how many clicks and likes and shares and views you get. It does have very good insights for when you do throw money at it, but man, it wants a lot of it. Has anyone ever heard of the 80-20 rule for sharing content? Go you!
Yay!
That means just don't spam everybody with your own content. As part of that community building, you want to be congratulating other people on their awards and achievements. You want to be sharing news articles. Your posts will not be interesting if they're all some variation of, hey, buy my game.
So 80% of your content should not be sales of your own product. 80%. It could be conversations, it could be asking questions. That's how you get a lot of communication and reach, as well as getting people to comment on something. So even just asking them what they're playing that weekend, that's going to give you more bang for your buck on the few times you do ask them to buy your game.
Yes. Funny things, cute
Memes
images.
for days. you
Memes for
guys.
days. Even if it's only vaguely related to you. So for Cheap Ass, I will occasionally post a funny D&D meme because people love it. And so that's what we do.
Like the humans in cubicles one. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good meme.
Yes. Or where people start statting out animals. I love that.
And I suppose we've placed this in here as well. There is some talk online about how political you should be. You as a designer wanting to work with publishers, you need to know that if you're posting something that's considered political, then that's going to follow you. That could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, it's up to you, but you should be aware that whenever you start talking about issues and you have a side that's going to like reflect on your business when you're working directly with publishers who might not share the same values as you. So I think that you should be somewhat political so that you work with other people that align with you best, but that's not going to give you the most options you could have.
No, it's difficult to balance sometimes what is best for you from a marketing standpoint and what is something you need to do as a human. So for Cheap Ass, for example, our company feed is fairly apolitical, but as humans, we are all extremely political and outspoken. We like to say that Cheap Ass Games LLC is a piece of paper with no political affiliation. And so you'll see that reflected in our content. Other publishers, I think Green Rodent is a great example,
Yes.
are very outspoken and political, and that's great. And the people they work with need to align with that or they won't be working together. Regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, don't pull a Roseanne. Try not to offend vast quantities of people at once, because some publishers will take that into consideration, whether they want to renew your contract or not, if you become a PR liability for them.
And I would say also, if you're going to be speaking with a publisher, you may want to peruse their feeds and make sure that if they are political, it aligns with your values, because sometimes they get pretty political.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, Marguerite, you mentioned that if there's a mismatch, that might be a negative thing. If there's a good match, would it be a positive thing, or would it just be at best neutral?
So the question was, if your values align with the publisher you're pitching to, will that be neutral or positive? And I think that depends on the publisher.
And the product.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a different way to market a board game than there's an RPG. The community's size and focus is different. So if you are in the process of building a politically charged funny card game, then you probably want your political values to align a little bit more than if you're building a game that's about cats. Unless cats are part of your main politics.
I don't know, man. Cats versus dogs.
Oh no.
That's a hot button issue.
We can all agree on capybaras? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Press list. Who knows what a press list is?
Yay!
Go you! So a press list is a group of reviewers and news people and influencers. I hate that word, but it's a thing.
Pundits is the other one that goes around.
Oh God, that's even worse.
I know.
When you have a new game coming out, you probably want to tell people. Ideally, your publisher will have a list as well, but if you are self-publishing, you won't have that. So you want to build relationships with reviewers. Eric over at Board Game Geek, I'm going to call him out by name because he's wonderful and you should all know him and talk to him and send him your news.
That is Eric Martin.
Yes.
If you don't know who he is, you need to now.
He has adorable cats. And also kids or something. But get a feel for where your audience is getting their news. Do you have a heavier game? Are they maybe going to Board Game Geek more? Are you targeting moms? Calliope Games is a casual game company that does a lot of stuff with mom bloggers. Try to get a feel for who your audience is and where they might be getting their news and bond with those news outlets.
And when you speak with press, I'm going to stand on this soapbox for the rest of my life. You should be vaguely aware of what they do. Don't send them a copy-pasted email that they just know. Hey, I really like your channel. I think you'd really enjoy my random politically card game here. It's like Magic, but not. And they all start sounding the same, all of these emails. So if you actually prove that you've listened to them a little bit, or you ping them on Twitter a couple times before you send them the ask, they will be much more receptive. And then having very good idea of dates. Just being like, hey, I've got a game, I'd really like to get it in front of you, but I would need that done by May 20. You're gonna save 3 emails while you go back and forth with that one piece of information. So have a really good idea of what you're asking from them. If it's just a blank, a share, that's fine. Just like put the ask into the email. You wouldn't believe how many emails you get that are just like a press release with no ask anywhere in it, so I just, goodbye.
One thing to absolutely not do is to friend a bunch of people on Facebook and then the first message they get from you is a, hey, buy my game, because you will be unfriended and somewhere in their mind put on a list of people they kind of hate.
Also,
So don't
auto
do that.
DMs of any sort.
Oh, God.
You are going to be blocked.
Mercy.
Auto DMs, so if I follow you on Twitter, you can have a service that sends me a DM automatically with your Kickstarter campaign.
Or your Facebook links, so make sure you get me to follow you on all the things.
Newsletters, sign up. But it goes into just don't spam people. I don't think they realize that that's their handshake to you, right? I followed you on Twitter. I'm ready to talk to you about cats and games and stuff. And then the first thing you say to me is, buy my game. Probably not going to work.
Yeah, if it's not an interaction you would have in real life, try not to have it online too. You won't walk up to people and shove a flyer in their face. Maybe
You're not
you
wearing
would,
a
that'll work for
visor
you,
with
but-
your game name on it.
I
Okay,
mean,
it better
good.
be a really cool visor.
It would be a cool visor. Maybe you can do that, but also talk to people as if they're humans, not just walking wallets.
And then, so on here, and as well on your checklist, it talks about both press releases and sell sheets. I'm going to kind of lump them in a little bit. Press release is a news article that people could put onto their blog. It's supposed to be nice and easy. You provide links, you provide information, a little bit of background, usually a sentence or two. Sell sheets are like one-pagers and are tip sheets and a couple, depending on what your background is. A sell sheet is a one-page something you can hand to someone that will tell them about your game. You want to make a sell sheet depending on who the person is you're speaking with. If it's a publisher, I'm going to make a very different sell sheet than if it's a retailer, because you're going to sell to what you're wanting to do. Again, putting the ask in. So there are examples online. Google search how to make a sell sheet.
Atlas Games has fantastic sell sheets.
Atlas Games, Fireside Games has a really good example of sell sheets on their websites. Everything Fireside does, just go copy all of that. They do amazing marketing materials.
And when you say Fireside, I immediately have warm fuzzies. So
Good.
That's nice.
I'm glad.
We'll buy some of their games just because of that.
Fireside Games is wonderful.
Yes. So if you're pitching to a publisher and you give them a sell sheet, you're going to want to talk about more how you think the game is different and fits into the market. And those are things you would include on a distributor retail sell sheet as well. But a pitch sell sheet will have more general terms, and a retailer sell sheet will have more.
You're speaking to the everyman at the store versus the publisher who knows gaming really well, so you can get a little bit more jargon in there and get more in depth about your game.
Yeah.
And definitely pointing out why your game is different is the number one thing a publisher sell sheet will do.
Cards Against Humanity versus Crabs Against Humanity. And
Adjust humidity.
Adjust Humanity.
Yes.
I can't even. Who has a website of their very own? Most of you.
Yay.
Well done.
Yeah, I would say that just even as a publisher, any kind of artist, which I do consider publishers to be somewhat of an artist, I would say it gives you a good space for a portfolio. It also allows people to find you easily. So building your own website can be another really good marketing tool. It also gives people a way to link you to things if you're not directly involved with it. So they can find your website, they can find your contact information. The amount of money you can spend building a website is infinite, but you could do it on the cheap if you want, and no one will really judge you either way, I don't think. because you are a game designer and not a website designer. I would say that Squarespace or Wix or just even a WordPress site will do a lot better for you than just a Tumblr, which I've seen a lot of people do.
Yeah, you can if you fear websites and you absolutely don't want to mess with it, you don't want to get a URL, you don't want to buy hosting, you could do a Tumblr or WordPress.com site or even a Facebook page. But I think having your own URL is really valuable. Even if you go into publishing yourself, or if you only have one game at one publisher and you don't want to build a website, you could redirect that URL to your game, which is nice.
And it also gives you an opportunity for a customized email address, which is always a little bit nicer than giving people an AOL address or something. You do get judged, you do.
I know I judge.
I have a few AOL addresses for game publishers, and it always just, it's a stopping, and then you remember. So it is nice to have them customized, because you could do your name at, you can do info at, you can split them up and they'll automatically filter in. So there's lots of things you can do with custom URLs that are better and more professional looking on the relatively cheap. It's less than $100 a year for all of that.
It's not bad. It's a worthy investment. So, privacy policies. Has everybody heard of the new GDPR in Europe? Yeah, just be aware if you advertise to people in Europe for any reason. If you plan on getting people from Europe to sign up to your newsletter, you need to have a very plain language policy explaining how you get their information and what you do with it, which is a good policy anyway, because it means you're not going to sell their information to Facebook or Google, not that they already don't have it, but it makes them feel better about visiting you and about you as a human. So do that. All right. So how many people said they were going to self-publish and do all the things? Oh man, good luck. Okay.
You got this. You're fine.
So this section is going to go into some of the things that publishers can do, maybe some things that require a little bit more legwork or a lot more money. So it's going to be okay. Someone is making a sad face.
My advisor and I are very sad.
I'm sorry?
My advisor and I are very sad.
Oh no. You gotta make happy visors. No one wants to be down because of a visor.
So how many people have followed a page because of a contest or signed up for a newsletter before because of a contest? Yay, some of you. So do that. It's a relatively cheap thing to do. You can use something called Rafflecopter. Just be aware of local raffle laws. I
think I prefer Gleam a little bit to Rafflecopter myself.
I haven't heard of Gleam.
Gleam does multiple entries if you want. You can have them come back every day and do new ones. It hooks into a lot of different social media. So Gleam is generally the one I send people toward, but Rafflecopter is cheaper.
It is. It does have a free option that will still link into your Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if you have to pay Rafflecopter to get a list of email addresses.
You do. You always will pay for emails. You just do.
All the money.
So for contest specifically, have a product that you're selling. Do contests for a specific product. People do it sometimes for social media likes. I don't know that there's as much value in that.
People will unlike you as soon as they win or don't win the thing.
That is very true. Be very diligent about when you're going to stop a contest, when you're going to announce the winner. Be very, very on it. Set alarms and reminders for yourself, because that is kind of your first transaction with those people, and you want it to be professional and on time. There's kind of a weird thing where a lot of people do these contests and then just forget to announce their winners.
And people notice.
Yes.
They will send you emails.
You get lovely emails that way.
Online advertising. Has anyone done any online advertising before? So many. So many more than I thought. Where have you advertised online?
Facebook and Reddit.
Facebook and Reddit?
Facebook as well.
I've done Google ads, Facebook ads, Boardgame Geek,
Yeah.
Kick Tracker stuff.
So Board Game Geek, Google, like the whole nine. And that is a good point, that there's lots of places you can do advertising for, something like a Google Ads, like AdWords and stuff like that. Facebook has amazing reporting. I will give them that, and they get down into the nitty-gritty of targeting. You can get down to males between 18 and 20 that live in Kentucky, and you can just hit that demographic if you want, and it will spit out a bunch of reporting at the end of it. Google does that, but with a little bit less specificity because they don't want to give you the amount of information that they have.
Jerk faces.
And then Board Game Geek is another like kind of a whale. Advertising on Board Game Geek. If you guys have never been to Board Game Geek, you should do that. But I would say that it is very worth it when you have an active Kickstarter to get extra hits. It might not equal extra backers right away, but it will certainly get eyes on your projects.
Yeah, I am. Advertising on Board Game Geek is always a bit of a fight between my bosses and I, because I feel like advertising on Board Game Geek gets you more than the direct click-through that you might see on your Kickstarter campaign. I feel like it does generate more eyes and more awareness of your project. But for our games, they tend to be a little lighter. Maybe I feel like Board Game Geek tends to favor crunchier games. No?
I don't know. I think it runs the gamut. I think the average user on Board Game Geek is skewing a lot lighter because there's just so many more of them lately. I mean, their numbers have jumped significantly in the last few years.
Yeah. We didn't do advertising with them on our last campaign, and I kind of wish we had. I always see it at least make back its money, so if you are doing a Kickstarter, I would recommend checking it out and spending at least enough so you can get their front page ad for at least a day. That always creates a jump.
That is really important with Board Game Geek because of how spread out all of their other pages are.
Yeah.
The front page is really powerful.
Do you know if they still do the weird promo exchange for ad dollars thing?
Last time I looked at the rate sheet, yes.
Yeah. So they have a rate sheet you can get on the website that does have a kind of a like promos into their store exchange thing. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah. So the Board Game Geek store is pretty nice. They've been boosting a lot of like Japanese import games and stuff, so people do go there now, and then if you provide a number of promos, they'll help you with your advertising costs. But that's another really good point of trying to do marketing with product as well as money. Sometimes that is a really good way of getting your name put to things, is to donate product to charity type events at big cons and things like that. A lot of the times that won't cost you dollars out of your pocket, it'll just cost you in product. And the MSRP, as we all know, is a lot higher, so it looks like you donate a lot more money than you actually did. Your investment is smaller than it seemed.
Yeah, sending out free product, donation product for libraries, schools, game libraries is the cheapest and most effective form of marketing, in my opinion.
I'm also a huge fan of building community that way, is going to your local, like whatever bars you hang out with. If you have bar games as part of your repertoire, they should be in that library. You should be able to play them everywhere you go and just point people, hey, I made that thing.
When I go out, I take Pairs with me. Pairs is a little card game. We call it the new classic pub game at Cheap Ass. And I will leave one for our wait staff. I will leave one at the bar. So whether or not they like it, they get it. And most of them like it, and it creates warm fuzzies, which I'm a big fan of.
Warm and fuzzies.
Yes. PR firms. Has anyone ever worked with a PR firm? Good, don't.
Don't do it.
Especially if you're running a Kickstarter, you're going to get maybe anywhere from 20 to 125 people reaching out in the course of your campaign going, hey, work with us. It'll be awesome. And it's not.
The good news is more PRs coming about that will know how to at least do publishing or PR for board games. 5-10 years ago that just didn't exist. They didn't know what that product was. So they would think that it would just sell like Monopoly sells, not realizing how niche those things are.
Bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts. So there is an upsurgence in people that do know what they're talking about, but they're overwhelmingly expensive.
Yeah, so if you are going to go with the PR firm, make sure you ask for testimonials from previous clients, see if you've ever heard of anything that they've worked on, and just be really careful when you do your vetting.
They better have done a Kickstarter before.
Yes.
Just, they have to have, because it is a juggernaut of marketing. It's all very concentrated in a number of weeks, and you really need them to be part of that with you.
Yes, and beware of people that will ask you for a percentage of your Kickstarter earnings rather than a flat fee, especially if after your Kickstarter funds, those people that contact you after they see that you've made your goal, you're going to get that money and they want a cut of it. When we did TAC for Cheap Ass, after we hit like the 500,000 mark, we got a ton of people asking us, oh, we'll only take 10% or 5%. It's like, oh, I have words for you that I cannot put into a professional email. So don't do that. Print advertising. Has anyone done a print advertising before? Yes, question.
So, Marguerite, you mentioned that more people know what they're talking about. Do you think the PR firms are still a scam, or do you think that that's changing?
I don't think they're a scam. Sorry. He's asking whether or not I think the PR firms are still a scam, even if they're not a scam. They're built out of a type of industry that board games just aren't. Our budgets and the way that our pricing works doesn't really allow for those types of traditional PR to exist. I don't know how much you guys know about your budgeting, but you're going to make a very, very small percentage of every sale of a game. You're going to make a very small percentage if you want to go into the retail chain, because distribution, just imagine like the store is purchasing it at 50%. So the distributor is like only taking like a 7% cut. A company like mine is probably taking a little bit in the middle. You're paying for your art, you're paying for the production. This all shrinks. So you don't really have much left in your budget for something like a PR firm. I just don't think that works with the way board games are priced right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a scam. I don't think they're out to hurt you. I just don't think they know how to help you.
Yeah, there's no malice there, just ignorance and...
They're just making their dollars. It's okay.
Yeah, it's their job. They just think they're going to be way better at it than they normally are. And they're a PR firm. Selling things is what they're designed to do, and so they'll probably try to sell themselves really hard.
That's what they're best at selling.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a scam. I would say it's generally not, until you're into quantities unheard of in this room at this moment. You will get there, but you really need to be selling at massive quantities to make those types of investments worth it.
Print advertising. Does anybody read any like Game Trade magazine? Yay, Liz.
So the one good thing about some print advertising in our industry is that it's free. A lot of the times, like any kind of distributor magazines, those Game Trade magazines that you see, a lot of those articles are written by the publisher and handed to GTM, and they will post those for free for you. It's a lovely service. They don't really have the staff to write the things, so they will just publish and send that article out to hundreds and hundreds of different stores to read.
Yeah, and even if you as a consumer don't necessarily read them, retailers will see those.
That's how retailers a lot of the times know what to purchase, because game stores overwhelmingly are made by the one person who hung around and maybe played Magic or maybe played minis or maybe played board games that just decided they wanted a store. So when they need to branch out and order things outside of what their main hobby was, they're going to rely on those types of magazines to do those decisions. If they're really focused on Magic the Gathering as their personal sport, then the board games are going to have to kind of sell themselves to that retailer.
Yeah, you can pay for ads. It's normally, I think Game Trade is maybe $750 for a full page ad right now.
Yeah, they have some beautiful ads and stuff.
But there are things that you can do for free, like the
Yeah.
articles. My company is doing a free pairs variant every month this year, and those are free because they're a value add for the magazine. You can also create promos that they'll insert in their magazine. At least for Game Trade magazine, it's free. So there are ways you can try to talk to them and come up with something innovative that they might not charge you as much, if anything, for.
There's also Casual Game Insider, Meeple Monthly, which is the ACD's magazine. There's a few other online only, and then things like ICV2. If you guys are not reading those, that's a good place to see a lot of information nicely contained.
Mm-hmm.
ICV2, I believe, has advertising you can purchase. It's a little on the pricier side, but their list, like their
reach
is huge.
Promos. How many people like promos and free things? Yeah, most everybody.
Not me.
You don't like free things?
I don't like promos. I like promos as a publisher, and I think they're a great marketing tool. I am a player that does not like them.
That's interesting.
I think they're often not as fun as the regular game, because you put all your goofiest stuff into a promo. Like the stuff you couldn't really balance that well.
Just like, this will be great.
Like, this sort of breaks my game, but it's really fun. And so that becomes the promo. But
Or like, this is a piece of art that we paid for and didn't use.
That, yeah.
Well, in my case, it's always the only place to let me put my worst puns.
I do like that promos are generally puns of some sort, or goofy characters.
So, yeah, there's some humans that do not enjoy promos for game playing purposes, and other humans that will go after them just because it is a promo and it is a collectible. You can spend a little bit on a promo, like if you're doing a single card, or you can spend a crap ton on a promo. Like, I don't even know because I don't have that kind of marketing budget. Those
Well, they do
magic
card
chips.
packs sometimes, or like one custom die or something, and those can be a
Yeah.
little bit pricey. Custom dice are just pricey.
Yes.
For a miniature.
Like a little mini,
miniature,
yeah.
yeah.
But that's a rarity that you see as a promo, and then usually it's a convention promo, and then they become chase, and people sell them for hundreds of dollars. But I do think, especially when you're talking about retail stores, we talk about a lot of marketing, and marketing to a retail store, handing them posters, handing them anything that they should have to hang or tape up, or they won't often take advantage of those. But promos to help them sell a game, you're now helping them get dollars. They love that. So another way of kind of catering to the retail folks is to give them promos to offer as incentives of coming into the store, purchase the thing, you get the cool promo with it. Like the buy a box promo for Magic the Gathering is a really, really good incentive for people to come in and buy a box from their local store rather than buying online right away, because those promos are usually great.
And that's a really good point. Retailers don't often have space for a whole poster or a window cling or a shelf talker. Some of them just don't have that kind of real estate. They're trying to fit as many board games into that space as they can. Maybe they've got a play space in a demo library, maybe they don't. So just beware if you're spending a lot of money on a store display. Think about where that goes. Maybe try to vet your stores if you do make one of those.
Yeah, I've had publisher friends have really good luck with stores signing up if they'd like those types of materials and then getting them sent out. It does cost a little bit more per promo, but you'll make better use of them. They won't just go to the recycling.
Yeah. You don't want to be, I mean, WotC has a huge budget, but sometimes they'll send out like standees or something. And
Those like hanging ones.
yeah, the ships were really cool.
They were very cool.
So cool, but some of them just didn't get seen because there's no way to display them. And who has WotC money? That's what I thought. Don't do that. So, should we do handling PR crisis or do you want to Kickstarter?
Let's do Kickstarter.
Okay. Who's planning on Kickstarting?
Kickstarter specifically, or Indiegogo, I guess, is the other choice.
You're
Cool.
Did previously Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Were you successful?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
There'll be another one.
Previously will be another one too.
Cool. Did
There
you-
will always be another Kickstarter.
Yes.
That's always the fun part.
I think we talked about a lot of things for Kickstarter. Be aware that there is a breed of retailer who hates Kickstarter. So if you're marketing to Kickstarter and to retailers, maybe you don't mention that right away. Some of the best people in the industry with the biggest stores hate it. They hate it vocally, and they will remember you for doing a Kickstarter. So, just,
I'm sorry.
Like if you have a successful Kickstarter and you're taking pre-orders, is that something that they hate too?
yes.
Stores, and I don't actually hold this belief, but a lot of stores believe that those direct sales and all of your Kickstarter sales took those away from a store. And I believe it's more of like, the more people know about your game, the more people are exposed to it, the more people will then go out and seek it at a store, because, you know, Codename still sells, Catan still sells. There are more people discovering games all the time. So the more people you can hit with your games at the very beginning when Kickstarter goes out first, the more you're probably going to have an impact and a reach beyond that, if your game is good. I guess that's the difference. If your game isn't that great and you're just trying to sell a novel idea, maybe that would affect retail sales, yes.
As a retailer, I would say, I mean, we actually support Kickstarter.
I agree, and I was always a fan of, like, a lot of Kickstarters have found a really good way of working with retailers. They will allow you to back for your normal discounts. So you'll get the games early, you'll be able to advertise for them, you'll get the promos and the special stuff, and you're not overpaying,
Yeah,
which wasn't
you're
huge on
keeping your
Kickstarter for a long
margins.
time.
Yeah.
But it does take a little bit, only bigger stores have the ability to do that a lot of the times because they're asked for the money up front, and you then are, you know, in the hole of that money until the game comes out, which can be a long time. Sorry, I've got two questions. We'll get you, go ahead.
So in that scenario, is it better to go directly to retailers or try to talk to distributors
is it better to go to retailers or talk to a distributor about carrying?
Carrying after going to Kickstarter.
I would highly recommend having your distribution plan in your budget. So you need to know before you even start your Kickstarter. Because, so distribution, you need to budget in a certain amount of money to sell at that kind of a discount instead of just direct money. And you also need to know, to be able to price your game properly, you need to know how many copies you're printing. And if you're printing in enough to go to distribution, that you're gonna probably have to tack on a couple thousand units. So.
Say you've already got extra.
So you have excess stock sitting
It's like in
around?
your garage.
Okay, let's say
It happens.
Let's say, to be more direct, it's an RPG book and it's print on demand. So.
RPG print on demand in the US.
Yeah.
For that, I would talk to some of your local game stores, see if you might be able to put 1 or 2 copies and see how they do.
You're going to need to prove to distribution, especially for print-on-demand RPGs. It's a tough sell for a lot of retailers. So to get distribution on your side, you're going to want some store statistics. Go run the game there. Go demo it. Tell every staff member you can find. Like, pin them down and tell them about your game.
Yes.
I mean, my experience with distributors is that their representatives are very nice, and they're like, "Oh, I love your games, it's fantastic.
They are
I wanna
very
carry
nice.
it. I'll give your card to my sales guy." Sales guy never gets back to you. The way you get distributors to pay attention to you is if retailers ask for your game.
That's, yeah.
Then they'll pick it up.
Yeah, I was talking to some buyers at the ACD open house this past week, and they were saying 75% of what determines whether or not they want to bring in a game or not is pre-orders. So,
Sorry, Ken, you had a question?
Yes.
I was actually, so one thing is, you repeated what she said because I'm not sure if they heard it on mic.
Sure.
And then the other was, I think that Kickstarter is like the As Seen on TV. Right? As Seen on Kickstarter, you could put like a little sticker on the outside of your box.
I would not recommend doing that for that same retail issue.
Yeah.
You're just going to remind everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean like if it was particularly well received on Kickstarter, like if it was really successful, then that might actually even be a selling point, like in some ways. I don't know.
that hasn't been my experience.
So Ken was suggesting that if you had a successful Kickstarter, you might actually advertise that on your packaging, on the box. I would worry a little bit about how long that tail is for how long that's relevant. So maybe on your first printing, and then after that, push out into something else.
As a nod to your backers, you might list in your rule book towards the credits, thank you to Kickstarter and our backers for doing this, or if you have a level where they make it into the rule book, something like that. But that's as much Kickstarter association as I was put in a product.
Like I said, there's a lot of retailer pushback about Kickstarter specifically. You will find that to be very common.
And some are not. Some are my husband there in the back who will go look for retailer levels in a Kickstarter that they like, and those are lovely humans, and you should marry them.
He is not available.
He is not. I will cut you.
And then what Liz was saying before about how to get into distribution, and this is 90% my experience as well, is that you want retailers requesting those games from their distributor. They will go to their sales staff and say, hey, I'd like game X. How do I get that? Can I have it from you? And once that distribution has to say no to you, that they lose that sale, they will do what they can to get the game in.
There is a little bit of an opportunity now. Does anybody know who Asmodee is? Who Alliance is? Asmodee publishes not all the things, but a huge portion of the things.
A bunch of things.
All the things. They have an exclusive with a distributor called Alliance. So there's an opportunity for you to approach some of the other publishers and go, hey, how do you like me now? In a very professional and polite manner. But I feel like as a smaller brand, we've gotten a little bit more attention from those publishers now that they don't have access to Asmodee titles.
The distributors, right?
The distributors, yes, sorry.
So distribution did definitely change a lot over the last couple of years because of some big exclusive shifts. Not only Asmodee, but also other distributors have been focusing on finding exclusives of their own. And it just means that, yes, they will work harder to get titles in because they have less of the pie to play with right now. It's a pretty good time to get into distribution. But you are competing against 3,000 games a year, so it's all about how you market yourself. Because I strongly believe that marketing is a skill that every publisher should use and designer.
Yeah. Let's see, Kickstarter, cross promotion. Has anyone ever backed to Kickstarter and then gotten a random update advertising somebody else's project?
Yeah.
Yep. Did you like that very much? Nope.
Okay. I mean, some people can ignore it pretty well. Go
I
ahead.
think one of the reasons our Kickstarter was successful is because another Kickstarter shouted out our game. And,
In the official update?
yeah, I think I'm like spacing. It was for Sentinels and the Multiverse that we shouted out because we also had kind of like an action fighting game, really relevant.
I think that
And
relevance
that
is
day
key.
When they emailed that out, so it's actually great for smaller guys.
So she was saying that in her experience on her Kickstarter, a bigger company actually gave her a shout out and that helped them push through and fund. And I completely agree that the relevance of those two titles being similar or the games being similar to reach a similar audience is really important. Some of the times there was a trend, it's luckily kind of on the outs at the moment, of just companies that liked each other would say, oh, we'll just advertise for your game. Everybody's happy, cross promotion. And you would get very unrelevant updates and emails and tweets and all kinds of other things about a game that you have no interest in that doesn't really relate back to what you backed in the first place, and that actually makes me unsubscribe to something.
Yeah.
I will.
If we do a mention for a friend out of Feel Good, then we'll put it at the bottom of our update, and it's just a, hey, we like these people, they're nice humans, you might want to go look at their stuff. But I wouldn't advertise, say, a mattress on my TAC campaign.
I do think that updates and Kickstarters are really important, just to make sure that everyone knows that you're still active there and reading the comments and doing the things, but never more than like maybe twice a week. Maybe.
Even while your campaign is going?
I guess once you hit milestones, that's okay, but man, do I just turn off those emails fast.
There's a question?
I don't think so.
No question? Okay. So stretch goals, how many people like them? Yeah. So my company has a kind of unique stance on stretch goals in that my bosses hate them. They feel like if we're going to make this game at this quality, that's just what we're going to do. If we get more people, we have to produce more of that game. So not really a fan of those. So we'll tie them to like development goals or social goals. We'll say if we get this many people, so for the TAC campaign, it's based off a book. We would say do this many costumes related to the book, and we'll promise to develop another rule set for the same game. So it was more development time, but not manufacturing time. We had really good luck with that. I think Exploding Kittens did something similar, but most other people feel differently. So
I am not a fan of tying stretch goals to social goals, likes, subscribes, those types of things. I feel they're not genuine likes or subscribes. They're not going to get you more people talking to you. They're not going to give you what those social goals actually mean. I'm personally, as a human, I don't like stretch goals. I want the game to be the game, and I want to decide whether or not that's the game for me. However, stretch goals are really important to a lot of people's campaigns. They're good psychologically for people to feel like they're part of a process and they're getting little wins as you go. Encourages them to back early and help you advertise. The motivations behind it are generally good. I like, I want the game to be this way. I want the card stock you wanted anyway to be what I'm seeing at the beginning. But it's been pretty well proven that that's not how Kickstarter functions the best. It's not how you get the best results.
yeah.
I don't care for the social ones though.
We've had pretty good luck with it just because I feel like TAC was a unique case where we had Pat Rothfuss's fans coming over and now they genuinely like us because they had fun with those. So I can see how it wouldn't work for everybody.
Well, and I just think that catering your campaign to the project is more important, and developing a marketing plan specifically for that game, not just the generic every campaign, is important. Something like TAC, where you have this readership audience who's probably never played a game like TAC before.
Or more back to
That's really
Kickstarter.
good as like an introduction. You get them part of it. You get them part of the new social media that they're probably not already in. I think that would be appropriate to social goal. But if it's your third Cthulhu game and you've already sold 2 to the same exact crowd, social goals are probably not going to be that big of a payoff for you. This is the same audience. They already followed you probably, hopefully.
And there are some shenanigans with stretch goals. I feel like people will have the game in mind. We're going to do this at this quality, but they'll pretend like they were going to do it at a lower quality. And then once they hit a number, say, now we're going to do it at the quality that they actually plan to do at all times.
That is 100% true of
Yes.
most campaigns you see.
So if you do that and it works for you, do it.
Good on ya.
But some people will notice and call you on it. Just be prepared for that in the comments.
Luckily, the majority of your backers are not super backers or whatever they call us now, who have problems. So you are going to be speaking with people who it might just be their first or second time using Kickstarter anyway, and that's really where you want your language to reside. You don't need to speak above people's heads. You need to get the people that need the most information. So I don't think you're talking to me or Cassidy when you're writing those types of updates anyway.
Probably not.
No. Talk to the everyman first.
Yeah. Handling a PR crisis, has anyone ever had what they would consider like a crisis of any
I was
sort?
like, I'm sorry. You handled it beautifully.
You did.
Them. You handled them beautifully.
I had feelings about that.
I have so many feelings
with
for
a
you.
capital F.
Yeah. So this will inevitably happen as we encourage you to jump more into social media and networking. PR crises will happen. You will overstep, you will say something will happen, some art will get picked apart in a way you weren't expecting, even language or rules or pronouns or something might happen. And then what do? First, take a breather. Put down the computer, the phone, everything you have any internet access to, and walk away for 50 breaths or whatever is going to put you in a better headspace.
The angry internet will still be there when you get back.
They're always there.
Yeah.
You can always find more anger on the internet. It's just infinite.
Yeah. Just remember, it's not the end of the world. If you did screw up, think about how you're going to apologize. Make sure it's a genuine apology. Be transparent. Be honest. Post it once, and then move on.
And my biggest thing about apologies, especially as PR, tell the people how you're going to fix it, how it's not going to be a repeat, or what could happen in the future that you will react in a different way.
Yeah. And don't, so even on your apology, people are going to be mad at you. People are going to yell at you for apologizing. It will be amazing how many things people yell at you for. Don't engage on a one-to-one basis. If you offended a particular human as part of your PR crisis, maybe reach out to them and apologize. But on the comments, on the replies, don't engage on a one-to-one basis. That way leads to madness and paranoia and
there are waves of people behind them ready to add on.
Yeah.
And that will never be good. And if it is against one person or one entity, do a private and public apology. Mm-hmm. Your private one should be longer. You should take more time in doing it. It should be a little bit more
personal.
Yes.
Yeah. If it gets nasty, if someone has sicked their audience on your brand, that's happened to me, just ignore them, record what they say to you. If you do have to proceed to litigation, you'll have a record of, hey, you did this and that had severe brand damage. We've never gotten anywhere close to that. But in this one situation for a couple of days, I was worried. So screenshot all the things. And finally, if someone makes a direct threat to you, go to law enforcement. Hold them accountable. Don't let the internet do that to you. I think there was a PR crisis recently where there was a facetious comment about a bomb threat on a Facebook page, and the bomb threat, the organization at which that bomb threat was directed had to shut down their offices for a day, and they contacted the FBI. And that was probably just a stupid Facebook comment, but that sort of thing shouldn't be allowed. So just keep in mind when to advocate for yourself.
The other thing to keep in mind on Twitter and some extension on Instagram, there are tools that will automatically block accounts for you. If you are having wave after wave of abusers, you will have some fallout where you accidentally block people you didn't intend to that are perfectly fine. But what it will do is block people that are known to be angry on the internet, and it will block new accounts. So little egg people. That can be invaluable at some point when you're stressing and they're icky people. Yeah, I know. Sorry. But we've all done that, and then hopefully you will figure out the people you don't need to block later, but it's the better of the two choices you have there.
Questions? Yes.
One thing that I thought of when we were talking about press lists, but I think it also goes for retailers too, is how deep would you, if you were going to do like demo copies or review copies, how deep do you go? I mean, is there like a threshold of your press list? You're like, the top X% are going to get a review copy, the rest are just going to get information or.
So you're asking how to vet who you give review copies to? So I think that depends a lot on your budget. If you are a giant company that has, X percentage of your print run, of your 10,000 unit print run to give away, you can probably afford to be a little bit more generous.
So I want to pipe in here because I feel like this is super in my wheelhouse. One big thing I will note is that there are paid previews, paid run-throughs, and then reviews. And hopefully there are some people that accept money for reviews just for their time. But if they're doing paid reviews, I would be a little bit wary of using that service. You're going to want somewhat of an unbiased answer when people are giving out opinions. Previews are generally like rules, walkthroughs, maybe a little bit of design background or some other kind of information. And then you can do how to play videos, which should probably be part of your Kickstarter anyway, so if you service that out, those will be for pay. For press specifically, if your game is a 54-card deck and you can get it onto a service like a print and play service, you could go to your top 7 wish list, offer them copies, and then for folks that aren't on that, you may even provide them a link where they could purchase it at a discount. So if it was a print and play service about a game I was really impassioned about, and I could buy it for $7 and then do the review, I might consider that. It's never a bad thing to ask reviewers, if they want an early copy, they may consider doing a print and play, but I never make people do crafts. If it's a link and I can buy it, I'm way more likely to do it. If it's a very involved Euro game with lots of pieces and meeples and things, there's 2 ways to go about it, having 3 or 4 big prototypes from proofs from the production, or you could do traveling copies. You could ask them, hey, I'd really love it if you do a review, and if I send you a label, could you pass this on to the next reviewer when you're done? That you need a little bit more buy-in from dates. Just have it done by this date so that it could go for this date, give people about a month. But that I've seen, especially for folks with lower budgets, that's been really effective to have little traveling copies. And then you can make we made social media campaigns around it and stuff. We had a copy of The Climbers go across the states. It was fun.
And in terms of vetting people, I look at how many people are following them, how long they've been around, and how good their content is. If you get someone like Maggie who has really genuine, unique content and it's fun and people watch it, that's fantastic. If you have nice person who sent you an email about how much they enjoy your products and how much they would enjoy a free copy of your product, maybe not. Maybe say, if you want to sign up for my press list, you can get a press release when I send it out. Otherwise, I have a limited budget. I can't send it out to everybody. I have preferred partners already. Find a nice way to dance around that, and you will probably never hear from them again.
And James Matthey of Minion Games has a working press list all the time with contacts and what they do, what kind of podcast or video or whatever. So you can always contact him if you'd like that list. He's been cultivating it for several years now. There are a few others out there, but that's the biggest one I can think of.
And he's just a good human, so you should go say
hi. So we've got a couple more minutes left on the cast. Any last minute questions?
I was curious what your feelings are on convention marketing.
Yeah, we didn't get to conventions on here.
I think that, again, depends on your size and your budget. We recently at Cheapest got a 20 by 20 at Gen Con, and that's a huge marketing expense. We'll see if it plays out. I do think it's always worth going to conventions to demo at as a designer and to show off your game, but in terms of buying booth space or sponsoring, look really carefully at your overall budget. Think, what am I going to miss out on if I do a 20 by 20 at Gen Con? How many other little cons could I have gone to? How many people is this ad in the program going to reach? Do people even read their program? That sort of thing. A lot of smaller conventions will do product for ad placement, and I'm a big fan of that. They'll do, if you give us $250 MSRP a product, we'll give you a full page ad in our convention ad. That's nice.
And I do think that prototype alleys that are popping up at most conventions now are a good use of time and space. They're usually not very expensive. They just take people. it's people dollars, so you have to pay for flights and hotels and things like that. But there's lots of them regionally everywhere right now. So I think that those can be invaluable as a designer, just to get feedback outside of your little bubble, because everyone has one, and you want to get more people in front of your products. All right, I think that's all the time we've got right now, but I really appreciate you guys coming out. If you do have more questions, we'll have a couple minutes for that, right? But everyone can get raffle tickets.
And if you got a handout, our contact information is on the back.
I'm really not hard to get a hold of, and Maggie bot on everything. If you ever have questions, please let me know.
Thank you.